So have you ever heard that emotions can be stored in the body? When I first started practicing yoga, we were often told that our hips can hold fear, they can hold all kinds of emotions, and that by opening the hips, we could release all of those bottled up feelings. Now, I went for a little while there where I didn't really believe that. I didn't think the science really checked out, but I've been doing a little digging lately and I'm kind of coming back around to that. So, my name is Jillian, and today we are going to talk about the psoas muscle, the pelvic floor, and ways that anxiety can show up in the body. So, the first thing that we need to think about is how the nervous system works. Now, the nervous system is composed of the sympathetic and the parasympathetic system, and the sympathetic nervous system, our fight or flight, is the one that gets us ready to fight an enemy or to run away or also to freeze up. Now, when we get ready to fight or freeze up or run away, we need our big muscles that are tied into making our legs move. And one of those big muscles is the psoas muscle. Now, the psoas muscle connects into our backs through our lumbar spine, our thoracic spine. It runs through the pelvis, and then it connects into the tops of our femur bones, into our legs. Now, when our nervous system gets keyed up, when we think that we're going to have to either fight or run away from something, we get ready to run, and that area gets really tight and ready to go. Now, in the society that we're living in right now, we're not really running away, we're not really fighting a lot, but we are really, really anxious. And that has us keyed up. And it can mean that our psoas muscle, those running muscles, those fighting muscles are tense and they're getting so tight, holding on to those emotions. It can be really hard for them to release in order to allow that parasympathetic nervous system, that rest and digest, to take over. So in today's practice, we're going to work on loosening and lengthening that psoas muscle, and then finally we'll come into a pose that's going to allow it to release. So a couple of props that will be useful in your practice today. A blanket for underneath your knees. We are going to spend a lot of time on the knees, so it might as well be comfortable. And also 2 yoga blocks and a bolster. Now, if you don't have yoga blocks and a bolster, I will give you some alternatives once we get there. We'll make it work, and I promise you'll have what we need. All right, so let's make our way onto our knees to begin with. Moving these props out of the way, we'll use them at the very end. So coming onto your hands and knees, finding a table, taking those wrists underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. Take a moment, make sure that your elbow creases are looking at each other. We want the elbows to feel fairly soft here. And then as you inhale, let's drop the heart towards the mat, squeeze shoulder blades together, and look forward slightly. And then as you exhale, lift up into the chest, look towards your belly. Inhale, drop your heart. And then exhale, lift it up. Moving with your breath. A couple more times. Inhale as you drop. Exhale as you come up. And then just taking a moment here, maybe about 5 breaths or so, just to work out anything that is kind of feeling a little tight in the body. So you can take your hips side to side. You can make some circles with your belly. You can flip your palms over and maybe open up the wrists a little bit. Just anything that feels good. Your body will tell you if you listen to it. Maybe you're extending a leg behind you. Most of us are pretty tight in the backs of the legs. Good, and then let's come to stillness. All right, so we'll take our right foot up towards the top of the mat. Maybe give yourself a little space. Maybe heel toe that right foot closer to the edge of the mat. And then we'll inhale, come up here, take your arms up, sink into that front knee. Good. Now, that right knee might go past the ankle a little bit. I'm okay with it going past a little bit. If it's going a lot, maybe you heel toe that foot forward a little bit more. Breathing deeply here. Maybe just pulsing in and out of your lunge. Now, you might feel this in the hip. You might feel this in the front of the left thigh. Good. Couple more times. Just in and out of this lunge. And then from here, let's back up out of the lunge a little bit. So you might have to heel toe that foot a little closer to you. Interlace your fingers, place your hands on your thigh, tuck your tailbone like you were tucking your tail between your legs, and then curl forward. Really tuck, tuck, tuck. It doesn't look like a lot, but probably you're feeling something in your left thigh. Good. Remembering to breathe. And let's come back up. We'll do one more pose in this lunge. So take your right thumb into your right hip crease, tucking it in there. Left arm reaches up towards the ceiling and then coming over to your right side. So we're finding a nice stretch through the side body. Remembering to breathe. If your balance feels off at all, you can always take your foot a little bit more out to the side. Good, and then let's back up out of this lunge. Let's take our hands down and come back to table. If you want to kind of readjust between sides, shimmy, make some circles, anything that feels good. And then we'll take our left foot forward. So we'll do the same thing. Inhale, take our arms up. And then exhale, sink it down into the knee. Good, just pulsing. Maybe with each pulse, you get a little bit deeper. If you find you're getting a lot deeper, maybe that foot goes out a little bit more. And then let's ease out of this lunge. Take that foot a little closer. Tuck your tailbone, really tuck it. Interlace your fingers, take them to the thigh. Curl forward. Take your way out. Still staying here, still keeping that tail tucked. Take your left thumb now to your left hip crease. Right arm comes up and we'll tilt over to the left. Feel that stretch on the right. Good. Inhale, come back up to center. We'll exhale, take the hands down. Any way that works for you, come back to your table. And then from here, coming onto your hands, we'll come up onto the knees and then take your left foot out to the side. Toes point away from you. Arms come parallel with the floor. Then we'll sink into the knee, looking over your left fingertips. So this is a modification of our Warrior Two. It looks really familiar, but a little bit of a deeper groin stretch here. So again, maybe you pulse a little bit. Good, pulsing, looking over that finger. Same cues, same tips as when we take our Warrior Two. Shoulders are over the hips. Good, last one. And then let's back up out of that side stretch. Take the knee down. We'll do the second side. So take your right foot out, toes point away. Take your arms out and sink into the knee. Pulsing. And feel that stretch, pretty intense. Good. Don't forget to breathe. And then the last time. Good. Backing up out of that stretch. Take the knees down. Let's come onto our backs. We'll move the blanket out of the way. Let's take a couple poses on the back. So rolling onto the back, take the knees into the chest, rocking side to side. Taking the knees nice and wide, take the feet up towards the ceiling. Let's find a happy baby here. Now you can keep your hips on the mat, shoulders heavy on the mat, and then maybe you reach your feet. Maybe your hands are just on your thighs. So keeping everything heavy. Maybe you rock a little side to side if that feels good. Good. Release your feet, release your legs. Take those knees together. And then let's roll up. And I will show you the setup for our final pose that we'll take right into our Shavasana. Now, if you have 2 blocks and a bolster, you're going to set your 2 blocks up on the highest height, about a foot apart, and then take your bolster on top. Like so. Now, if you don't have blocks and a bolster, that's okay. The other thing that you can take is just any chair, like a dining room chair, or you can take your legs up to a couch. So I'll show you the setup for this. We're going to take our hips nice and close to this bolster, leaning back. Take our calves onto the bolster. And then closing down the eyes. So any way that you can take your calves parallel with the floor, so a 90-degree bend in your knees is going to work pretty well in this pose. So once you get there, closing down the eyes, allowing yourself to sink into your support. And I recommend you stay here for at least 5 minutes. Even as long as 20, as long as it still feels good. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time.